Hello, and thank you for joining us today on Geezers of Gear, episode number 209. Today's podcast is brought to you by Elation Professional. The Elation team are excited for the world premiere of the Proteus Hybrid Max, the next generation successor to the groundbreaking Proteus Hybrid. Faster, brighter, and tougher than its pioneering predecessor, the IP66 rated Proteus Hybrid Max features all new technology that makes it a breakthrough evolution in lighting excellence. Experience the Proteus Hybrid Max at LDI alongside a host of other cutting-edge lighting solutions in Elation's Proteus, Fuse, KL, and 6-par lines. At LDI, Elation will also be showcasing the latest in lighting control innovation from Obsidian control systems, as well as new atmospheric effects from Magmatic. Elation continues to push the boundaries in entertainment lighting and control. See them at LDI or at www.elationlighting.com. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Mainlight. Looking for exceptional value and flexibility in your lighting rental needs? Mainlight, your trusted lighting rental partner, is now offering long-term leasing. You can take advantage of up to 60% off rental list price with even greater discounts available after 52 weeks. With this attractive leasing option designed for a minimum term of 26 weeks, you'll find featured items from moving lights, leading consoles, truss, and LED inventory, allowing your company to stretch its capital expenditures even further. As a lighting rental partner, Mainlight combines the resources of a national company with the personal touch of a local provider by consistently purchasing the latest technology in lighting, truss, and consoles. From the newest truss to a full array of lighting consoles, your lighting will have the tech it needs to reach peak performance. Mainlight also carry a robust inventory of IP65 rated fixtures, giving you a lighting solution for any outdoor show or venue, come rain, wind, or shine. Visit mainlight.com to chat with live representatives across all 4 locations in Wilmington, Nashville, Las Vegas, and Teterboro. Trust Mainlight for the gear you want. Well, hello there, Miss Sarah.
Hello, how are you?
Fabulous. I just struggled through two of the toughest sponsor promos ever. We need to talk to these sponsors. I think they're doing this to me on purpose. They're like putting these Greek words together and saying, ha, ha, we'll get Marcel. Watch him try and read this one.
I have to say, I was laughing in the green room. I mean, it's lucky I was on mute, but we would have just, I was just like,
yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Well, guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, next week, Sarah Birnie is going to be reading our promos. Yeah, especially the Greek ones. She's got practice now. Sarah, where do you live again?
I live in Greece, Crete.
Yeah, see?
And I still don't speak anything, so I'm not any help.
Well, you can pronounce your husband's name, which I can't. So,
that took me 2 years.
and then you had to write it on documents and stuff. That had to take a minute, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Well, so welcome, Sarah. You know, I've known you for a while, and I'm super excited to have you joining Geezers of Gear as our first and only employee in Geezers of Gear. And so, you know, first, I guess, why does a podcast need a producer? And of course, you know, for me, I always look at the number one podcast in the world and I go, well, he's got a producer, so I need to have a producer. But he also brings in whatever, $30-40 million a week on his episodes or whatever. And so, you know, really, it's just that, believe it or not, putting on a weekly podcast is a huge amount of work. And it's funny because Sarah and I just had a conversation about this because today is her 1 week anniversary with Geezers of Gear, and they said it wouldn't last, Sarah. Um, and we just talked about the fact that her and I are both these crazy A types who want to get everything done today, like right now. I've got a list this long, and I'm going to get through the whole list right now. And so, we just discussed it, like how much we've actually had to accomplish in a week, and how many things. And I'm not patting my own back, but I'm kind of patting my own back. Like, every time I do an episode, I do this all by myself. And I don't know that people realize that, but I bring in sponsors, I bring in guests, I manage the process of bringing in and managing those people or companies. I'm scheduling the podcast, I'm recording the podcast, I'm uploading the podcast, editing the podcast. I've had to learn how to edit and upload YouTube videos, all of the branding, all of the technology behind it. We actually have a recording studio here that everything gets recorded into. Just it's a huge amount of stuff. And then posting it on social media, trying to promote it on social media, responding to people on social media. So, it's a massive amount of work. And every time I've told anyone, regardless the size of a podcast that they're doing, that I do it by myself, they're like, you're an idiot, first and foremost,
Yeah.
And so, Sarah, what have you, as far as Geezers of Gear needing a producer, what have you discovered in your first wild and wacky week here?
My first wild and wacky week, exactly that you said. I have a list, we have ideas, and I want to get them done like straight away. And as we just spoke, just settle, calm down, and things will come naturally. I'm not a slow person, so it's not just going to be like you talk about something and you put it on the back burner, because I'll still be thinking of it, but it will be, instead of a rushed, not a rushed job, but yeah, a rushed job, it will be more thought out. It'll be more, more time spent over it, thinking about the pros and the cons, straight this week. I mean,
Yeah.
from starting literally a week today, learning everything, setting up emails, but we had the wrong emails, and then we've changed everything. Then it was getting used to the programs and all this kind of stuff. Then it was okay, what about a website? Okay, so I pretty much built a website with my other half.
Yeah.
That was in 3 days straight, but we didn't just do it gradually. It was literally like I woke up 8 o'clock in the morning, boom, website. 2 days late at night, like I'm just insane. And
Yeah.
then it gets to Friday, and I'm so happy to send it to you. Then I was like, we did all these posts saying that I was coming on board, and so many congratulations and awesome and this, that, and the other. And then it was, interacting with people that wanted to come on the show. So then
I
all
know.
weekend, back and forth. I mean, that was insane. But I'm very, very happy to announce that I have my first guest within the week.
Yeah.
So look
Yeah.
out for that next week. So it's been amazing. I mean, all my life, I didn't really think about it, not my life, my career. I've always had broadcasting in the background. Whatever kind of job roles I've had, I've always had broadcasting, and I love it. I love that behind the scenes. Okay, I'm front of scenes now, but I always love that behind the scenes, the finding the people, the working out what you're going to say. All of these things. It's been a main part of.
It's
I suppose.
super fun. I think anyone who knows me knows that I love to talk, and probably I'm a better talker than a listener sometimes, but I think I'm a pretty good listener too. And the cool thing about podcasting is you really have to be both. You have to be a good speaker, but you also have to be a very good listener, because otherwise you're going to miss opportunities to pick up on stories or to go, wait. What did you just say about that thing? And, to be honest, one of the things I love about Joe Rogan is that he's a great listener. Like he takes notes during podcasts, like for things like if he has a doctor on, he'll take notes about things he needs to change in his diet or whatever. But he always brings it down to the listener's level. So like he'll have this crazy scientist on, and the scientist is saying something in very scientific terms and kind of freaking out the audience. Like the audience is going, what the hell is this guy talking about? And Joe goes, wait a second. And he dumbs it down. He brings it down to like a level that he knows his audience will understand. And so, yeah, I mean, everything you just said is true as far as, you know, the aspects of actually doing the podcast. And it's really great to have somebody who understands that, you know, in yourself. So
And it's just about, obviously, you know, it is about the podcast, but as we spoke, it's all of now it's all of focusing on social media, you know, how you can put it out, how you
yeah,
can spread the word. You know, there's so much. It's not just, oh, I'm going to record a podcast and upload it. That, like you said, you're behind the scenes up until me arriving. You know, you've done everything all by yourself. So,
yeah.
you know, it's
Well,
great to
and
be
you can record
involved
the
in.
greatest episode ever, but if nobody heard it, you know, it sucks, you know. And I've got some of those. I've got some really great episodes that only got 100 listeners or something. And, you know, I'm always like, what is wrong with you people? Why haven't you heard this? But it's not that they don't want to listen to it. It's that they don't know it exists, you know, because that's half of the job, is making sure to get the content in front of the people who are interested in the content. And so obviously that's one of the things that you know, you're going to focus on is, so, you know, to get into the nitty gritty, I mean, basically Sarah is going to take almost everything except recording the actual podcasts off of my plate. And most of that stuff, by the way, has been shortcutted extremely. So any social media promotion, any marketing, it's all been shortcutted. It's all been like, blah, I'm just going to throw out a social media post with no thought to it, with no follow up, with no planning or anything, right? So Sarah's going to actually apply a little more science and technology to it and put out the right content at the right time. And even down to, you know, we discussed this morning in our production meeting that we're going to start scheduling the launch of the podcasts, or the publishing of the podcasts. And we haven't settled on the day yet, and maybe people can comment and get back to us and send even an email to producer@geezersofgear.com. But what day? What is the best day to launch the podcast? So right now, or not launch, but publish. I think right now we're thinking either
Wednesday
Thursday
or
or
Thursday.
Monday.
Yeah,
Wednesday,
I think Monday
Thursday.
we said no
Oh yeah,
because of
Monday was no,
Monday.
right? So Wednesday
Friday,
or
no.
Thursday.
Basically, yeah. So
Yeah. So we're
let us
looking
know
at,
when you want to hear it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and I know people are going to have different opinions. You know, like I love people who give me feedback. One of our sponsors, who I just fumbled through their promo just now, Elation. Many of you know Eric Loader, and so Eric has been probably one of our greatest supporters since day one of launching this podcast 5 or 6 years ago. And Eric always gives me feedback. So he'll call me and he'll say, you know, that podcast with so-and-so was amazing, but 3 hours, Marcel, 3 hours, like you got to cut these down or make them into multiple episodes or something. And while I took note of that, I didn't actually change anything about it. We've done a couple of podcasts where we split them into 2 episodes because it was really just kind of 2 different stories, you know. But again, like the way all of the podcasting mediums work, if you pause it, it restarts in the same spot later. So it's not really that big of a deal that it's 1 episode, right?
Yeah,
But noted, you know, and to Eric's credit, that way I could charge twice as much for sponsors too, because it's 2 episodes. Great idea, Eric. Send more money, please. Uh, so yeah, I mean, so Sarah really is going to at least initially by herself take on, you know, 90% of what our podcast entails, and I'm going to do the easy bit, which is recording the actual episode. But I say that, but I mean, we're going to have multiple meetings. We're going to have production meetings. We're going to have guest meetings where either she meets with the guest and then her and I meet and we sit down and talk about the things that we should discuss on the podcast, what's important to the guest, because Sometimes it's promotion. Sometimes the guest has something to promote, and we want to make sure we cover that and give the guest that availability to promote whatever that product or service or whatever. Sometimes it's a story that we want to make sure gets told. Sometimes it's a hardship or whatever, but we want to make sure that the guest has a lot to say about what we talk about and what we don't talk about. And it's one of the things in the green room that I talk to a guest before we record every episode. Is there anything you don't want to talk about? And if they say, yeah, that thing I told you about my mom, let's maybe leave that out. And some guests say, no, it's my life story and I'm happy to share it. So,
Yeah.
but it really is down to the guest. I don't want anybody to record this and then regret recording it. That would be terrible. And I would just take down the episode, to be perfectly honest.
And also, I mean, I said to you when, like, we've just chatted before this for like the last hour or so, and I'm fine. Then all of a sudden, you was like, okay, let's switch to here. Straight away, I was like, oh, I'm a bit nervous. Like, I was like, it's crazy. But you make, I mean, it's stupid, I know.
Yeah.
But it's like you make everyone feel comfortable, relaxed. So if something was said that they didn't want, like you said, you edit it out.
Yeah.
This podcast is only now what, 5 minutes? You edited out everything I've said? No.
Yeah, it's all gone. Bye-bye.
It's all.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Birnie. Bye bye.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even edit out my own bloopers during the promo readings. So, by the way, note to producer, we got to shorten Mainlight's sponsorship promotions because they're very long. Like, it's like they have so much to say. We got to say it a little shorter, But, yeah, Mainlight are a great company, though. So, I mean, for now, we'll take them as long as they send them, and I'll just fumble through the whole thing. And I know somewhere right now, Mike Cannon is laughing at me, so that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, bottom line is on adding Sarah to the show. First of all, she's not going to be the only person that's ever involved. So Sarah will eventually, as budgets allow, will add a, and I'll say team loosely. It's probably like 10% of one person and 5% of another person, but especially in things like producing content, graphics, and things like that, like to artwork, pictures, maybe, God forbid, an actual intro video that's not just thrown together by me on my computer. So, Sarah will add other people to help her get these things done much more professionally and nicer and up to the standards that we and our guests all, and sponsors, of course, all would love to see. So, yeah, I mean, super excited to have Sarah. So who is Sarah? Tell me about your background. What leads you to this absolute pinnacle of success where you're suddenly the producer of a wildly successful podcast?
Oh my goodness, where do I begin? Do I begin at the beginning, the middle, the end?
It's your call. You have a cool life.
It's a crazy life. Let's say I've never been normal. And I hate to use that word normal, but I mean the normal 9 to 5 office job, house, car, you name it. My mum still goes crazy at me. I'm 43 now, and when are you going to get a proper job, Sarah? I'm like, it's never going to happen. I mean, she's just up the fact that I'm going to live back in England. I'm now in Crete. That's it.
Yeah.
But all I've ever wanted to do is travel. So I suppose this goes way back. So all my life, from a small child, all I wanted to do was travel. And as soon as I was old enough, I hit out to Europe, and I started doing the usual, what you do, the managed ski resorts and summer seasons, and that's okay. You spend 6 months in different countries, amazing. And then I was given the opportunity to basically join F1. So this is where we have a connection as well, obviously, with racing. And it's not, I always say, it's not what you know, sometimes it's who you know. And my yeah, it's always, if I'm honest. My cousin was leaving Formula One. She was a hostess for McLaren. And yeah, I knew she worked in, Formula One, but I never thought about asking her for a job because I know it sounds daft. I just had this, you had to be an F1 grid girl. You had to be a model. You had to be this, like, and I'm not that person. I never have been and I never will. And anyway, long story short, I got the role. So I got the position working for McLaren. It was the hostess, so it was the catering side of things, feeding the boys, the teams, the drivers, the sponsors, you name it, taking care of everybody. Absolutely incredible. Had the most amazing experience with them. Proud to say I was part of Lewis Hamilton's very first world
Wow,
championship win. That was like
that's
amazing.
cool. Oh yeah,
So
because he was on McLaren. Yeah,
yeah, seriously, that was
everyone
like
forgets about
one
that
of
because he's had such a
the
successful run with Mercedes, but people forget that he started with McLaren.
yeah. And
Yeah,
his first year, he did so well. He did so well in his first year as like the rookie, and didn't win the championship. But then it was the second year that he did, and like,
that was back sort of. Wasn't that even before he was kind of a whining douchebag?
oh, he was awesome then. He was awesome. I loved him then.
I went from really loving, like, I was a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, and then he just became more about the messaging and the all the stuff outside of racing. And it's one of the things I love about Max Verstappen. He shows up in racing t-shirts and racing clothes, and he puts on his race suit as early as he can, and he only wants to talk about racing. He doesn't want to talk about social issues or other
Anything
issues or
else?
whatever. He just wants to be there to race and to drive a race car as best he can and to talk about racing. And love him or hate him, like, that's why I'm there too. I'm there for the race, not to be educated, you know. And
I
so
think there's
yeah,
too
Lewis
many.
lost me when he went off. Yeah.
It's, I mean, he had his first, let's say, not wobble moment, but when obviously going straight into this this whole I'm famous, like he,
Yeah.
as I said, he came in as a rookie, he
Yeah.
did absolutely incredibly. Then next minute he's being invited. I mean, I remember one the
Okay, we're back. We just had a little bit of a so I don't know if it was clear, but Sarah lives on this island in Greece called Crete. And occasionally, you get these sort of wobbles in the internet service, and it's to be expected. So,
I think that was
welcome back, Sarah.
well, thank you very much. I think
Yeah.
that was a slight power cut that cuts everything out,
Oh,
and
lovely.
I was frozen and disappeared. So I do apologize for that.
It's all good.
Thank goodness I won't be the one recording the
So you were
podcast.
talking about Lewis Hamilton, and I took us off on
Yeah,
a sidebar, but
yeah, sorry. No, it was just a memory that came to mind because whilst I would be doing, like, I would be part of the races, for McLaren and the host for looking after them during the race weekend and the race week before. When I went back to London, I would be part of like other events. And one particular event was Nelson Mandela's birthday party. And
wow.
it was amazing. I mean, seriously, this was like an incredible event to be taken part of, basically. And I was very privileged and honored to be asked to be like the head waitress to basically look after Nelson Mandela. So I was
Super
like,
cool.
oh my goodness, that's like great. I mean, there's a whole room of thousands of so many famous people. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Well, Lewis Hamilton had just become, I mean, in that league of this is going to be an exceptional man. Their top table was full of so many incredible people on the top table, and Lewis was invited for the top table. It was a little bit controversial because he'd only just come into play. Why was he on the top table and all this? But anyway, he was there. So I'm walking around. Bear in mind, I'm all in black. I'm a waitress, and I'm
Yeah.
just like hands back and service. And all of a sudden he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, Birnie, how you doing?" And I was like, hi, Lewis, like this. I was like, "Oh, shit." And he was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" As though like I was a guest walking around. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. Yeah.
and then he's like,
Working.
"Hey, my girlfriend." And I'm like looking at this view. Anyway, it was Nicole Scherzinger. And I was
Ah.
like, and she put her hand out. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Do I touch you? Do I not? Is security going to come and grab me? Like, anyway, like these were the days. And he's like, oh, my mum and dad are over there. Go say hi to them and all this, that, and the other. And this
Wow.
was literally the beginning when he was that super cool, I'm going to say, innocent, wonderful young man
He
that
was amazing.
that,
Yeah.
that didn't mind talking to like the caterer.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And I have a lot of respect for what he's done in his career,
Of
how he has
course.
gone
Yeah.
ups and downs on the marketing side of things, like how he lost it a bit, then he came
Yeah.
back. And, but I mean, one of my favorite drivers of all time has to be Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
He's a
He's my
fun
favorite.
dude. Yeah.
He is my favorite,
Have
like
you
by
seen
far.
some of the stuff he's been doing lately, like with his whole
Oh,
butt thing, with the calendar and stuff? Like, it's hilarious. I mean, it's just somebody like that who can take himself not so seriously. I love, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Not so serious. I mean, he's now girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is. She's amazing. She's in the sporting industry as well with her cycling. They have this such a good chemistry that you feel like, he's there to race, but he's also trying to say to the world, it's not just about racing.
Yeah.
There's another side, and I
Yeah.
and I love that.
Well, and also, I'm just some really lucky guy who happens to get to drive this friggin' gazillion-dollar car around every weekend and get paid for it,
Seriously.
Like
I'm
at the end
proud
of
to
the day,
say,
I love people who look at it like that, who, because my son is a typical struggling, don't have $1 billion budget behind you and all of that racing driver, which is 99.999% of racing drivers out there. And so there are literally like 21 guys or whatever and girls who are lucky enough to be able to sit in that car at the pinnacle of motorsport that are not really that much more special than my kid or half the other kids that are out there that have the same vision and dreams. They're very lucky. I mean, these people are very, very lucky to be doing what they're doing. So,
yeah.
at the end of the day, when they act nasty, I don't like it.
No, I don't. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same with anybody in the world. If you act nasty, I'm not interested in
Yeah.
you.
Well, that's how what I've always said. Like people, with all of the divisiveness that's been going on over the past several years, um, everyone's looking to categorize you, or everybody has to choose these categories or sides of the room that you're on, whether it's COVID or it's elections or it's this or it's that. You have to choose a side, and based on which side you choose, oh, you're that guy, you're far right, you're far left, you're whatever. And at the end of the day, to me, I separate people: good person, bad person, good person, bad person. Don't care the color, who you sleep with, what your religion is. I don't care about any of that stuff. I really don't. You're a good person or you're a bad person.
Yeah,
Simple.
and I've
Yeah.
learned the hard way because I believe that sometimes I'm a little bit too, open to how people are first of all, and I've
Yeah.
learned the hard way. Actually, I thought you was really nice, but you're not. But once I learn, that's it.
Me too. Yeah, I keep learning. I'm a little older than you, and I keep learning. I'm still learning today. Like I thought that guy was my friend, and my other half, who comes from the same country you come from, has all of these. Like she's always giving me these things that you'll know called home truths, and they're just smack in the head lessons that say, dummy, I told you that guy wasn't your friend. I told you he didn't care about how it went for you or whatever. And I think it's a Canadianism where we just trust everyone and believe everyone means what they
But wouldn't it be
say.
nice if you can trust everybody?
I wish.
If you just trust everyone, what you're being told. You don't have to overthink things. You don't have to, like, yeah, do they mean this or do they mean that? No, like I mean this. That's
Guaranteed
it.
it's easier in Crete than it is in Florida.
Oh no,
Really?
this was a culture shock for me. So I've
Really?
been going like I during F1 times I was always back and forth, I'll just sort of say back and forth, traveling in between races. I would always travel to the countries wherever I was at, I would always travel. It was cheaper for me to stay out. The companies would rather keep me out than bring me back. So fine, I would travel. And then later on, I knew that I needed a base. So I made my base here in Crete. And it was a huge culture shock for me. One, to be part of this incredible circus. Then you come back here and, it's simple life here. Like it's the roads are terrible. The infrastructure of things doesn't exist. The everything about it, and people's attitude. They are honest, and they are, but it happens everywhere, I suppose. The Sometimes you have to think, did you mean that, or did you mean that?
Yeah. What is the real agenda behind
what
the one that
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
presenting? Yeah.
What's the real of this? So
Unfortunately, that's the world now, Sarah. You always have to have a guard up, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. Like, I have my house in Canada. It's in a little town called Canmore, and it's, I'd say, 80% easier than Florida or than any of the big cities or
Mhm.
whatever. You don't have to be as guarded. You can kind of leave your door unlocked and stuff like that. But even there, like, you've got contractors and stuff who are starting to get to the sort of slimier side where they're trying to screw you or overcharge you or whatever. And uh, you you just always have to pay attention these days, because anybody who says, "Hey, buddy," chances are, your wallet's missing. He put his arm around you, and your wallet's missing now, right? So, anyways, I completely screwed up your story. So you're with F1,
Yeah, no,
and
that's fine. So basically, I then was approached to join it wasn't exactly a TV company, but in F1 they used to have these little TVs that were distributed everywhere. So I was in charge. I was like the operational manager for that, and logistic wise, the sea freights, the air freight, and organizing everything from the
so
first race to the last race.
what was that? That was like a fan vision kind of thing, right? Like, for fans at the race, they could see different camera views and stuff on the screen. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So basically, and it would have all the onboard cameras, it would have everything. And I know I'd said previously I didn't want that career job, but that was my career. That was for me the pinnacle of F1. I was able to go into every single garage. I had control over basically everything from the marketing to the sales to you name it. That
Wow.
was where I was basically setting up the venue, setting up everything in form, hospitality, not the hospitality, the compound. That was the job.
So you
And
had a cool
sadly,
life, but no life.
it was, yeah, a cool life but no life, but it was
Yeah.
just the best. I loved it. And sadly, Mr. Eccleston and the owner of our company didn't see eye to eye, and basically we left. So that was my end of my, let's say, my career in
It's
Formula
funny
One. I mean,
because
I was still with, I was still with them for
your video's fading and fading and fading, and it looks like it's going to crash again.
no.
So we might crash, but maybe not. Yeah.
Oh, why? Don't
It's
let me
getting all
crash.
it's getting all fuzzy and grainy, but your internet's fading. You got to pedal faster.
Is it telling me? So seriously, you've got to stop talking, Sarah Birnie.
No, 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 keep talking. So Bernie pissed off somebody else, and that deal split
And
up. So you were no longer employed.
I was no longer employed. And whilst I had some amazing opportunities that were offered to me to join other teams, nothing was ever going to be as good as that. So I was like, you know what? I didn't want anything. So I didn't want to
Yeah.
join another team. I didn't want to do this. Very spoiled. I know. That's why I didn't want to join another team. I just like that was it. That was like my most amazing job. Anyway,
Yeah.
I then came to Crete, decided to just have a little chill, think about everything. And then someone was like, look, Sarah, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I was like, no, I don't want a normal job. I want to live here. So then I went into the music industry, but in the catering and hospitality. So I went, I'm not going to say back, but I went, back into that industry, and I started touring on the hospitality side, because that gave me the real, like like more independence of saying, okay, I'll go and do a tour for 2 months. I'm back in Crete for 6. I will go and do a tour for 2 weeks. Okay, I need a bit more cash now. I'll go and do one for 6 months, whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a very much, you know, making a lifestyle change. And my lifestyle change meant that, I could live here, disappear for a couple of months, come back again.
It was
Of
a it
course,
was a it was a similar circus, but different
yeah,
performers.
Difficult
Instead of
was it?
racing, yeah, instead of racing, it was live acts or whatever, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've been on tour with some amazing bands, and I love that tour life, being on the bus, the whole setup, the seeing an empty stadium, and then all of a sudden in like 2 days, not even 2 days, 24 hours, 2 days, it's the stage is there, the you know, lighting, the video wall, you see everything going up slowly, slowly, and you're like, okay, I was, we were feeding you. I'm your like your
Yeah,
hostess again. Without us, you wouldn't have the energy to do that. So I'm going to call myself your mum right now.
yeah,
And the team members, they're the characters that you meet on a tour, and you become a tour. It's a tour family.
yeah,
They are your everything for however long you're on that tour for. Get on the buses to sleep overnight. Roadie Fridays, I miss Roadie Fridays. All of these amazing, experiences, shall we say. And
yeah.
I'm too spoiled now. One with the music industry and obviously with Formula One. People have invited me to go, and see gigs or gone to go to an F1 race. Unless I'm backstage or in the
It's
paddock,
hard. Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
go.
I hate going to concerts as what we call a punter in the
No,
business, you know. But I mean, it's hard, because it's like, what do you mean I got to go park in the parking lot, and I can't park in the little
seriously.
special lot behind the stage or whatever. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard being told you can stand here, but you can't stand over here and that kind of stuff. So
We're all
I just,
actors.
you know what?
I
I
mean,
don't really bother going to a lot of shows anymore because I just am never happy being there unless, I've got friends coming through with someone and either they invite me or I'll even buy a ticket and go to the show and just to say hello to the production manager or the LD
yeah.
or the
No.
front of house sound guy or whatever it is, right?
Even
But
here, like a couple of about 20 minutes drive away, there's a very famous hippie village called Matala, and every year there's a famous festival, that beach festival that happens.
oh, really?
This year, I didn't even want to go. I actually asked one of our contacts from Gear Source. I asked him if that he was going because he was Greek and he sometimes goes, and I was like, if you go, I'll go, basically because I knew that I would get backstage.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm not going this time. I was like, okay. And I said to my husband, I was like, well, no, he was like, do you really want to go? And he was like, nah. I was like, okay, for you.
Yeah.
Like even here, a small beach festival. The thought of being so cramped and you're like, no, I'm sorry, I'm too spoiled now.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I mean, once you get a taste of that other side, it's really hard to go backwards. It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, really,
Yeah.
really,
It's
really
just like
like.
flying in coach after you've flown in first class for a while, it's that first long distance flight in coach is tough. It's like, whoa, the food is terrible.
I hope we have time. I do have to. I have this one story that I'm sure you're going to love, and it is, it's obviously live events, but obviously the biggest live event for me was always the Monaco Grand Prix. Now
Yeah.
that just happens to be like the
Yeah.
most amazing one,
Yeah.
and I had a load of my TVs, and basically the FOM broadcast center is on the other side of the tunnel. Okay. Now, bear in mind the garages, the paddock club, the everything is on the other side. You've got the yachts. And I got asked, where do you want to be? Where do you want to watch the race? From the garage or you want to be in your office, which is the Formula One compound? I said, no, no, no. I said, I'm happy in the compound, because I've got everything, the technical teams here. I'll stay with them. Okay, no problem. Anyway, as soon as the race starts, ring on my phone. The TVs don't work. Oh my goodness. Now bear in
Oh,
mind, I'm
boy.
like, they need to. I mean, it was only a handful. It was probably about, if I can remember now, it was about 50 TVs. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And the manager of Formula One, he was like, well, just go through the tunnel. I was like, what do you mean go through the tunnel? And he was like, well, go through the tunnel. Take your the TVs on your shoulders and just walk through. I said, I can't do that. He was like, yeah, you can. You've got all access. And I was like,
Yeah.
anyway, I've got my TVs on. I'm walking through. I've got the ear headsets on, and I'm walking through. Can I swear? No.
Yeah.
I was
Shitting
really scared.
yourself.
All right, okay, I'm shitting myself.
Yeah.
I come through the tunnel. You imagine the noise from the F1 cars. Vroom,
Yeah.
vroom. I'm also got this irrational thing in my head that there's going to be a crash and I'm going to be there, little old me, with my
So,
TVs
so
and
what, were
cars.
you just on like a little walkway, like next to the road where they're driving? Oh my
Literally, the,
God. That
the
had to be
road.
cool as hell.
It was amazing. Now I look back, it was amazing.
Not many
And
people got to do what you did right there in Monaco.
seriously,
I mean,
it was,
wow. I just got goosebumps from that, believe it or
and you
not.
imagine, I walk out the entrance to the tunnel, my heart's pounding, and I walk out, the cars are going past, and I'm like, whoa, like seriously. And then all of a sudden, you see thousands and thousands and thousands of people, all eyes glued on the tunnel. That's what
And
it felt
what's
like to me.
what's that idiot with all the TVs hanging around her neck?
Who's that in black walking
Yeah,
through, coming out of the tunnel? Anyway, for me, it was like the most like, and then as I walked
that's
out, I was like,
so cool.
hmm, I just walked out of
I'm
the tunnel.
special. Yeah.
And
Good for you, man.
now
That's
I'm going to go
super
into a
friggin'
yacht.
cool. That is so cool.
But
That's
anyway,
an incredible story.
yeah, I think you
So
like that one.
so I mean you took all of this crazy experience and eventually went full time to live in Crete and got married recently.
Yep.
And one of the things that I love that you did was that you started your own business in tourism,
Mm.
where you're, and I'll probably get this wrong, but I'm going to take a shot at it anyways, where you're basically helping promote businesses, especially hospitality, hotels, Airbnbs, restaurants, bars, to people who are interested in coming to Crete. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep. Basically, that is it in a nutshell. So I wasn't intending in being here full time, but that dreaded word of COVID happened, and of course, the music industry went dead.
Oh, I
I
didn't realize that's what stopped you from
yeah.
touring. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was literally due to go out on the Avril Lavigne tour, like that March, and of course it was cancelled. It's like with
Hmm.
most other tours and things.
Yeah.
And then obviously I knew I was never, because I was always like the person that would only do one or two tours. So when music did start up again, I always knew I was never going to be asked to do tours because there was like all the full time crew would be asked way before me. So, I had pretty much like almost 3 years where I didn't have any work. My savings pretty much were going to go a bit, downhill.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, right, what do I do?
Yeah.
So what do I do now? So I decided to walk. So this is where it started. I decided to walk Crete. And in the first year and a half, I know how I 1,350 kilometers all the way around Crete. And I started making these videos, showing people the destinations, and basically calling myself Just Birnie Adventures. And slowly, slowly, people started watching. In the last year and a half, nearly two now, I extended the Just Birnie videos to beautiful destination guides. So I'd go to all the different places here, do a destination guide. Then it was a bar and taverna guide. Then it was an accommodation guide where I'd walk around people's villas, telling everybody what it was like.
Right.
And now, even people have asked me now to come into their shops and do videos making their shops. I do have a website, and my website is basically it's awesome. So I have a
What
little
is it?
website
What
where
is your website?
www.cretalife.com.
Creta is Crete.
Creta, Creta
Oh,
Life.
so why Creta and not Crete?
Um, a lot of people call it Creta anyway, but you've got Creta Live, which is one of the big TV shows. Most Creta, I don't know. We just called it Creta.
Oh,
Crete Life, I suppose, would have been better, but Creta Life.
yeah. No, it's cool. I didn't know the difference with the
Yeah,
word. No,
yeah.
it's really cool. I love what you're doing with that. I hope you continue to succeed with it. I know it's been growing
Thank you.
and I've been paying lots of attention and I like most of your posts, not just because I like you, but because they're beautiful. I mean, like you're showing these places and then you turn around and it's just this unbelievable, I'm a sucker for water views and
Yep.
you have so many of them there. And, I live in Florida, but I don't have those views. I have views of trees and stuff. and roads and schools and, normal city things. But yeah, it's really cool.
I've been really fortunate. I've been really fortunate, as I said, from 3 years, to have just friends and family watching to now have, a lot more people. There's a couple of villages I go to now,
Yeah.
and I'll be sat there and I'll be like, why are they staring? I forget, I'm like, why are they staring? I was like, I don't recognize them. Then all of a sudden they'll come up to me, they're like, are you just Bernie?
Oh
I'm
my
like, yeah.
goodness. No way. That's funny.
It's my little bit of fame for Crete. That's
Yeah.
that's
That's
what it is.
funny. That's really
But that's
cool.
why now I love this
Yeah. W-
working with you, because it's, for me it's
Well,
the
it
same kind
fits.
of thing.
Yeah. No, I mean
Perfect fit.
it was so weird because, I put something out on social media saying I'm looking to expand Geezers of
Mhm.
Gear and bring on a producer. And half of that wasn't because I was in a rush to hire somebody right now or anything. I just wanted to put out, a fish hook into the water basically and see what kind of people came out. And, I got all kinds of response from people who were jobbers who do like production of podcasts. That's what they do. And I might be their 21st podcast that they're producing, and I really didn't want something like that. Like, I wanted someone really who was passionate about it and who was like me and wanted to do this and make it successful. And I wanted somebody that I wanted to work with and stuff. So I had a couple of friends reach out who were just like at that stage of their life where they were looking for something that kept them busy or whatever. And I was having a few interesting conversations, and then all of a sudden I get this message from you saying, like in your own little very humble way, would you even consider somebody like me? And I'm like, consider it. It's done. Like, let's talk tomorrow and figure out the starting day and stuff. Cause for me, it wasn't about skill set with you. You'll figure that stuff out just like I do. It was just more about the human behind all of that. And, so I'm super excited about the future of Geezers of Gear. I'm super excited
Yeah.
to be doing it with you now. That to me is a real highlight. Um, and who knows where we can take this thing now? Like, all I can tell you is the goals have changed over the past week to where, now it's not like looking to get it from, a couple thousand listeners or viewers per episode to 3,000 or whatever. Like, now let's shoot for the stars, and see what we can make this thing. And yes, we're going to always keep it in the live events community. Yes, we're going to keep our focus and our passion for, it's called Geezers of Gear. There's only so many directions you can go with it, right? But it's for this community. It's for these people, for our friends and kind of our community, our family. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, it's really,
A
really
new
super
guest,
exciting.
I'm coming for you. Wherever you are, I'm coming for
Yeah.
you.
Well, so yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So, that's one of the things that Sarah and I have spent a lot of time over the last week discussing is what are the types of guests that we want. And really, it's not about fame or fortune or you're at the very top of the industry, you're the owner of the biggest company in the industry. It's about you as a human. What is your story? Is it interesting? Do people go, wow, when you tell them your story? And if they do, chances are, so will our audience. Our audience will love your story. And so, I mean, I know, Sarah, you and I have talked a lot about this over the past week because, your first inclination is probably, let's just get everyone. And then you start in your own head, you start filtering through everyone going, no, that person's a really nice person, but they're very quiet. And I don't know that they'd make a great guest, And so at the end of the day, like, no matter how great you think your story is, if you're not going to be a great guest on the podcast, you're not going to do yourself any justice. And certainly you're not going to increase our numbers because at the end of the day, nobody will listen to the podcast or watch it. Right. So,
We need those people that are full of energy, full of life, and
yeah.
just, a good storyteller.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the most recent episode we did, Michael Springer, I
Oh,
didn't I
amazing.
didn't know Michael. Like, I knew him from social media, but I didn't really know his story. I didn't know that he went to school and was best friends with Michael Jackson. I didn't know,
Right.
the
Amazing.
drug abuse and craziness that he witnessed as a child, in his own house, your safe place. And, Sly and the Family Stone were hanging out, and Jimi Hendrix and all these people are hanging out doing drugs in his house with his mom. I mean, what kind of an upbringing is that, But I'll tell you what, it's an incredible story. And Michael was honestly one of my favorite people that I've had on recently. Just a super guy. And you can tell from the comments and likes and stuff that the episode is getting. People just dig
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, if you're a nice guy, a nice person, it doesn't matter necessarily, what level you are in your careers or whatever, like you said, you don't have to be the boss or the owner or a manager, just come in with a true heart and be able to sell it.
Yeah, and I know we have a very sexist name, Geezers of Gear, but we've had women on and we want to continue having women on. And we have a woman on right now, by the way. So, Geezers of Gear is just a play on words, and it doesn't by any means. This is an all boys club, and it's certainly not just an old men's club. You know, it's just a name, and it's all about people in our industry. Certainly, we focus on a lot of people who have been in our industry a long time and that's just my own personal, I guess, thoughts. I like stories of the foundation of the industry. I like people telling me, like, stories about creating par cans out of pizza, or not pizza, pineapple cans in Hawaii. Making par cans from pineapple cans, or making speakers in their garage, and then they end up being, EAW or something. They end up being this huge speaker brand. I love those stories. Like, I loved
Yeah.
Hartley Peavy's stories. I love all these crazy great stories about the foundation of our industry. And so yeah, I mean, we love great guests, and if you're going to be a great guest, Sarah is going to be on you. She's going to be chasing you to get you on the podcast. And certainly, if you're listening to this and you think you're a great guest, reach out. Producers at geezersofgear.com. Producer at geezersofgear.com. Maybe I could get this right at some point. And or if you know someone that we should be pursuing to get onto the podcast, or that would like, or you'd like to hear them on the podcast, send us the suggestion or the recommendation, and we'll certainly follow up with them. Right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah. And so yeah, and then of course sponsors. If you'd like, a unique way of sponsoring your business, or promoting your business, I should say. I will tell you, I take great pride and great responsibility in signing on sponsors. When we sign on a sponsor, I'm very concerned that I'm giving you great value. You can talk to any of our sponsors. We're very clear about publishing who our sponsors are. At least two of our sponsors have been sponsors since almost the very beginning of the podcast. And that just tells you that we're bringing them great value. And so it's not expensive to be a sponsor. The return, I think, is excellent. Our audience are an amazing group of people who we're very proud to serve awesome content to. And so, yeah, again, producer at geezersofgear.com. And Sarah can get you more information about becoming a sponsor, or you can reach out to me directly as well, and I'll get you more information on becoming a sponsor. But we are looking to increase our sponsorships. I think we have 4 sponsors right now. We're looking to go to 8 in the near future. We have sort of a bit of a waiting list right now, so we're going to start talking to them first. But yeah, raise your hand if you'd like to be a guest or a sponsor, and sometimes both. Sometimes you're coming in as a sponsor, and we go, wait a second. Yeah, you have an incredible story. I want to get you on as a guest as well. And of course, we'll promote your business during that episode as well. So yeah, anything I've missed or we've missed here, Sarah?
No, I don't think so. But I think, as always, we talk too much.
Yeah, that's all good. Well, we're finally in a place where people who talk too much belong, a podcast, right?
That's true. That is true. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean,
So
I still could go on for hours and hours and hours, but we won't. We won't.
yeah,
We have work to do.
yeah. You're going to see Sarah on the podcast a lot more often. And so maybe as a third guest or co-host at times or whatever. But because Sarah likes to talk and she loves a good story, just like I do, we'll bring her on occasionally. But
I'll always be there in the green room. I'll always be there in the green
she'll
room.
she'll
So
always be in the green room, lurking and listening and
lurking just
pouncing if she gets an opportunity. All right, cool. Well, Sarah, it's been a lot of fun, and love having you on board. Love
there.
having you on board. I'm super excited about the future of Geezers. And yeah, I hope everyone
Yeah.
else is happy too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.